The door is not meant to lock from the inside. That is the first thing she notices. The study doors throughout the keep are designed for access, not secrecy. Decisions are made openly here. Orders are issued in full view of scribes and witnesses. Even private councils leave doors unbarred, symbolic proof that authority has nothing to hide. Which is why the soft, unmistakable click behind her feels louder than it should. She does not turn immediately. Instead, she sets the stack of documents carefully on the Duke's desk, aligning the edges with precise, deliberate control. Only then does she speak. "You don't usually lock doors." His voice comes from behind her, low and steady. "No," he agrees. She turns slowly. He is standing between her and the exit, not blocking the path, not looming, but positioned in a way that makes the closed door unavoidable in the room's geometry. "You've changed a habit," she says calmly. "Yes." "Why?" His gaze does not waver. "Because tonight requires clarity," he says. The word settles in the air between them. Clarity. She understands immediately what he means. This is not about security. It is about the absence of interruption. The study is dim, lit only by a low fire in the hearth and 2 lamps casting amber light across the desk and stone walls. Shadows pool in corners, deepening the quiet. "You could have said you wanted privacy," she says. "I did," he replies. She lifts an eyebrow. "You locked the door." "Yes." "And that's your definition of asking?" "It's my definition of ensuring we're not interrupted." Her pulse lifts slightly despite the calm in her posture. "You assume I would stay," she says. His jaw tightens, just a fraction. "I hoped," he corrects. The honesty catches her off guard. He does not step closer yet. That restraint, she has learned, is deliberate. It is what makes him dangerous, not the authority he holds, but the control he refuses to abandon. "You've avoided this moment," she says quietly. "Yes." "For a long time." "Yes." "And tonight." "Tonight," he says, avoiding it would be dishonest. The words echo softly against stone. She feels something tighten in her chest. Not fear, not uncertainty. Recognition. Because she has felt the same inevitability building for months now. Through glances that lingered too long. Through hands that brushed accidentally, but never withdrew too quickly. Through restraint so consistent it became louder than any declaration. She moves away from the desk, stopping a few paces in front of him. "You're very certain," she says. "I am." "And you're not worried about consequences?" "I am." "Then why lock the door?" He exhales slowly. "Because if we speak about this with the door open," he says, "we'll both pretend it doesn't exist." The truth of it lands immediately. She cannot argue. Because he is right. They have been pretending. Carefully. For far too long. Her gaze drops briefly to his hands at his sides. Strong, steady, controlled. The same hands that have adjusted her cloak in public, corrected her sleeve at council meetings, and hovered just short of touching her skin when it would have meant too much. "You're not afraid of me," she says. "No. You should be." "I'm not." The quiet certainty in his voice sends a small, unwelcome heat through her. "Why not?" she asks. "Because you don't take what isn't offered." The words still the room completely. She looks at him sharply. "And tonight?" she asks. "Tonight," he says, "I'm asking." The distinction matters. Her breath slows deliberately. "What are you asking for?" she says. His eyes do not leave hers. "For permission," he says simply. The word lands heavier than any declaration could. Permission. Not possession. Not control. Choice. Silence stretches between them. The fire shifts in the hearth, a low crackle breaking the stillness. She should step back. She does not. Instead, she steps closer. Not quickly. Not dramatically. Just enough to close half the distance between them. "You locked the door," she says softly. "Yes." "And now you're waiting." "Yes." "For what?" "For you to decide whether it stays closed." Her pulse stutters. "Because that is exactly what this is. A door. A boundary. A moment balanced on a single decision." "You've always been careful," she says. "Yes." "Too careful." "Yes." "And tonight?" "Tonight," he replies, "I'm done pretending I don't want to touch you." The honesty is like a spark in dry air. Her breath catches. "You're not subtle," she murmurs. "I don't want to be." He takes one step forward. Only one. Now the distance between them is small enough that she feels the warmth of him. Still, he does not reach for her. Not yet. "I don't like being handled," she says quietly. "I know. You know why." "Yes." Then why would you ask this of me? His voice lowers further. Because you trust me, he says. The certainty in it unsettles her more than the question itself. And if you're wrong, she asks, then you'll tell me to unlock the door. Simple. Absolute. He is giving her complete control. She studies his face, looking for any sign of coercion, of impatience, of entitlement. There is none. Only steadiness. Only intent. Slowly, deliberately, she lifts her hands. Not to push him away. Not to reach for him either. She places them lightly against his chest. The contact is small, but the effect is not. His breath changes instantly. You're certain? He asks quietly. She meets his gaze. Yes. The answer is barely above a whisper. But it is enough. His hand lifts slowly, giving her time to stop him. It moves not to her skin, not to her face, but to the narrow fastening at her waist that holds the outer layer of her gown in place. He does not touch it yet. His fingers hover. You can still change your mind, he says. I know. And if I do this, he continues quietly, there's no pretending we didn't. She inhales slowly. Good, she says. The fastening loosens beneath his fingers. The fabric relaxes just slightly. Nothing dramatic. Nothing scandalous. And yet the air between them changes completely. Because something has just crossed a line neither of them can step back over. His hand remains at her waist, not moving further. Not claiming. Simply resting. Anchoring. You're trembling, he says. I'm not. His thumb presses lightly into her side. You are. She exhales sharply. You locked the door, she murmurs. Yes. And now. He meets her gaze. Now, he says softly, I'm undoing what you've been holding together for far too long. The words settle deep. Not about clothing. Not really. About restraint. About control. About the tension neither of them can deny anymore. And this time, she does not step back. The fastening loosens beneath his fingers, and the change is small enough that anyone else would miss it. But she feels it instantly. The fabric at her waist relaxes, no longer held tight, shifting slightly with each breath she takes. The sensation is not exposure, it is awareness. A reminder that something deliberate has just happened. This hand does not move away. It rests there, steady, warm through the cloth. Not claiming, not retreating, waiting. You're very still, he murmurs. I thought you wanted that. I wanted you to choose it. She exhales slowly, the warmth of his hand making it harder than it should be to keep her voice even. I did. Yes, he says quietly. You did. Silence fills the room. Not empty silence, but thick with attention. The fire shifts in the hearth, shadows stretching across the stone floor. He moves then, but only slightly. His other hand lifts, slowly, deliberately, and hovers near her shoulder. He does not touch her skin yet. He traces the edge of the gown's outer seam with the back of his fingers, barely grazing fabric. The restraint is almost unbearable. You're careful, she says, her voice softer now. Yes. Even now. Yes. She turns her head just enough to meet his eyes fully. You don't have to be, she says. His jaw tightens slightly. I do, he replies. Because once I stop being careful, I won't be able to pretend this is anything less than what it is. Her pulse jumps. And what is it? She asks. His gaze holds hers. It's wanting you, he says simply. The honesty lands heavier than any touch. Her breath catches. Because he is not speaking about a moment. He is speaking about something that has been building for a very long time. You've wanted me for a while, she says quietly. Yes. And you never said it. No. Why? He hesitates, not from uncertainty, but from choosing his words carefully. Because wanting you meant risking everything we built, he says. The truth in that settles deep. She understands. Not just the political consequences, the personal ones. Trust, power, balance. And now, she asks. Now, he says, pretending I don't want you would be more dishonest than risking it. Her hands, which have remained lightly pressed against his chest, shift slightly. Her fingers curl into the fabric of his tunic, not pulling him closer yet, but anchoring herself. The movement is small. He notices immediately. Of course he does. You can stop me, he says again. I know. And you're not. No. He exhales slowly, the sound quiet but unmistakable. His hand at her waist slides upward, not slipping beneath fabric, not claiming. Simply moving along the curve of her side through the loosened gown. The contact is firm enough to ground her, gentle enough to ask. Her breath deepens. You're shaking, he murmurs. Only because you're taking your time. His mouth curves faintly. I told you, he says. Once I stop being careful. He does not finish the sentence. He doesn't need to. His hand reaches the point just below her ribs and stops there, thumb resting lightly against her side. The pause stretches. Charged. Intentional. You're waiting again, she says. Yes. For what this time? For you to tell me if you want more. Her heart beats faster at the question, not because of fear, but because of the trust it requires. She could still step back, still tell him to unlock the door, still return to the careful distance they have always maintained. Instead, she slides one hand upward from his chest to his shoulder, fingers resting there. Not pushing, not restraining, steadying. I want you to stop asking, she says softly. His eyes darken slightly at that. You're sure? Yes. The answer is immediate. Certain. That is enough. His hand tightens slightly at her side. Not painfully, not possessively, just enough to show that he heard her. His other hand finally comes to rest at her shoulder, fingers spreading lightly over fabric, feeling the warmth beneath. The sensation sends a quiet shiver through her. You're not afraid, he says. No. You should be. I'm not, she repeats. His gaze searches hers one more time, not for hesitation, but for confirmation. Finding none, he steps closer. Close enough that there is no space between them now. The warmth of him surrounds her fully. His hand slides from her shoulder up to the back of her neck, not gripping, just resting there, steady and grounding. Her breath catches. The closeness is no longer hypothetical. It is real. Say it, he murmurs. She knows what he means. This is my choice, she says. The words leave her quietly but firmly. He exhales. Relief. Desire. Both. He leans in slowly, giving her time to move away. She does not. The first brush of his mouth against hers is controlled, almost tentative, not testing, not claiming, simply confirming. The contact is warm, steady, intentional. Her fingers tighten at his shoulder, pulling him slightly closer without realizing it. That small movement changes everything. The kiss deepens, not suddenly, not urgently, but with a slow, inevitable intensity that feels less like crossing a boundary and more like acknowledging one that had always existed. His hand at her waist shifts again, sliding slightly around to the small of her back, drawing her closer without force. When he pulls back, it is only to breathe, to look at her. You're certain, he says again, quieter now. Yes. And you understand what this changes. Yes. He studies her face, searching for doubt. There is none. Only steadiness. Only heat. Only choice. His forehead rests briefly against hers. You've been holding everything together for too long, he murmurs. Her voice is barely above a whisper. Then don't stop now. The words settle between them. A permission. A promise. He does not move immediately. But this time, he does not hesitate. The locked door stops mattering before the night ends. Not because it opens, because neither of them is thinking about leaving anymore. His forehead rests against hers for a long moment after she whispers, "Then don't stop now." The contact is quiet, grounding, less about urgency than about certainty. He exhales slowly. You don't know how long I've been holding back, he says. Her hands remain at his shoulders, steady. I think I do, she replies softly. His hand at her back tightens slightly, not possessive, not urgent, simply anchoring her closer. And you're still standing here, he murmurs. Yes. You're not walking away. No. The fire shifts behind them, sending a warm glow across the room. Shadows slide along the walls, softening the sharp edges of everything. Desk, maps, authority, distance. All the things that once separated them. He lifts one hand slowly, deliberately, and brushes a loose strand of hair back from her face. The gesture is simple. It feels intimate in a way nothing else has. You've always been composed, he says quietly. I had to be. Yes. His thumb lingers lightly at her jaw. And tonight, she says, I'm tired of pretending composure means I don't feel anything. The honesty lands between them like a breath finally released. His eyes darken slightly, not with restraint this time, but with recognition. That's all I needed to hear, he says. He kisses her again, not cautiously now, but still controlled, still deliberate. There is no rush, no frantic urgency. Instead, the kiss deepens gradually, a steady acknowledgement of something long delayed rather than a sudden loss of control. Her fingers tighten slightly at the back of his neck. He notices. Of course he does. His hand slides along her back, tracing the line of her spine through the softened fabric, stopping at her waist again, grounding, anchoring, reminding her that this closeness is intentional, not overwhelming. When they separate, the room feels warmer. Closer. Different. You're not afraid of what happens next, he says. No. You should be. She meets his gaze steadily. I'm not afraid of you. The certainty in her voice shifts something in his expression, softening the last remnants of restraint. He steps back only slightly, giving her space, not to retreat, but to breathe. That's why I locked the door, he says quietly. She tilts her head. Not to trap me. No. To remove interruption, he clarifies. So we wouldn't stop halfway again. The truth of that settles easily now. Because that's what they've been doing for months, stopping halfway. Always pausing before the moment became undeniable. She takes a slow breath, adjusting the loosened edge of her gown without readying it. He watches the movement, openly, without looking away. You're not fixing it, he says. No. Why? Because I don't want to pretend nothing changed, she replies. A quiet smile touches his mouth. Good. Silence stretches again, but this time it is calm, not tense, not waiting. Settled. He moves toward the desk, reaching for the small, iron key resting there. The gesture is deliberate. He does not unlock the door immediately. Instead, he turns back to her. When we walk out of here, he says, nothing returns to the way it was. I know. They'll notice. I know. They'll talk. She lifts her chin slightly. Let them. His gaze searches hers one last time. No hesitation. No uncertainty. Only clarity. He nods once, then crosses the room and unlocks the door. The sound of the mechanism turning feels strangely quiet after everything else that has shifted. The door opens. Neither of them moves immediately. It is no longer about privacy. It is about what comes next. They step into the corridor side by side. No distance between them. No effort to conceal the change. Servants moving along the passage glance up. Not staring, not startled, simply noticing. The Duke's hand rests lightly at her back. Not hidden, not possessive, intentional. The message is unmistakable. By morning, the keep has already adjusted. Whispers circulate, not scandalous, not shocked, but observant. Recognition. At the council table later that day, the difference is visible before anyone speaks. She sits at his left, as she always has. But now there is no careful distance between their chairs. No deliberate avoidance of eye contact. No pretense. Bram is the first to clear his throat. My lord, he begins cautiously. There are perceptions. The Duke doesn't let him finish. There always are, he says evenly. Silence follows. He turns slightly, not toward Bram, but toward her. Not as a shield, as an acknowledgement. She remains here by her own decision, he says calmly. No apology. No explanation. Just fact. Bram's mouth tightens. And this will not affect governance. No, she replies before the Duke can answer. Her voice is steady, clear. If anything, she continues, it removes the distraction of speculation. A quiet ripple moves through the room. No one challenges her. Because they cannot. The work continues. Decisions are made. Authority remains intact. But the atmosphere has changed. Not weakened. Rebalanced. That evening, they stand together on the eastern ramparts overlooking the city. The wind is cool now, carrying the sounds of distant market stalls closing and bells marking the hour. His hand rests naturally at her waist. No longer tentative. No longer testing. Comfortable. You're still standing here, he says softly. Yes. You didn't regret it. No. He exhales slowly, the tension that has lived beneath his composure for so long finally easing. You know what this means, he says. That we stop pretending, she replies. Yes. And that we choose it, openly. He nods once. She turns slightly toward him. You locked the door last night, she says. Yes. But you didn't keep it closed. No. Because the door wasn't the real boundary, she says quietly. He studies her face. No, he agrees. It never was. The boundary had been fear, restraint, silence. And now, all of that is undone. He reaches for her hand. This time, she doesn't just allow it. She laces her fingers through his. Firm, certain, chosen. The city below continues its rhythm, unaware of the exact moment something shifted. But the change is real. Last night, he locked a door. Tonight, nothing stands between them. And what once held her together is no longer something she carries alone. Because she stood still. And then she chose to step forward. And that choice changed everything.